As recently as 5 years ago, Macon County farmers produced as much as 6,000 acres of tobacco. Today, the number is about a third of that. Now farmers are producing more soybeans and corn, and some are even giving a shot at hemp.
Farmers, the producers, this started back applying for a license back in November through February of this year. And they're right now it's in the process. There's all stages in Macon County and across the state, actually, from some that's just been out for a few weeks to some that's being harvested currently here in Macon County and also around in other counties. And there's still a lot of education, a lot of information to be gained from this. The UT is have experiment plots out as we're speak, to kind of learn, because it's been many years since it's been grown. But here in Macon County, we had about 300 applications for licenses back at February. With that, we're estimating 300 to 400 acres of the hemp for this is for oil, CBD, that a lot of people are hearing in the news and everything. That's mainly what is grown in the county. Last year we had some of the fiber. I don't know of any of that. It was not as, I guess, a good thing as we thought it might be for those that grew that, and so we're hoping for the best with this. A lot of these farmers, producers that have grown this have done a lot of work as far as, educating themselves, and that's what we really promote and everything, because there's a lot of unknowns about it still.
Now just describe the plant, if you would, what it looks like, because this is something that we're not used to seeing in Macon County, and maybe what are farmers looking for as far as on the plant to harvest?
Right. Of course, you see the plants around in the background and whatnot. It when it's full grown, it's almost like a Christmas tree looking. It could be 6 feet wide, 6 feet tall, so it's a lot of space it takes up. And there's going to be different ways of harvesting this. And of course, this plant, it does not, it is, looked at by the TDA, Tennessee Department of Agriculture. They will test the plant to see that it does not contain over 3.3 of the THC. That is the the properties in marijuana that people would the cannabinoid, that part that would get the high, I guess you could say. This does not contain any of that, so it will not have any of those effects. But it does have the and I mentioned cannabinoids. It's the CBD that is the hopefully, I guess, the health benefits of that, the pain and that type things, what's being promoted, and there's still a lot of research on that going too. But so right now, again, it's in all stages, but the harvest will take place, and it's going to be looking different. They'll harvest it, hang it in their barns. We have some that are chopping the whole plant, and it just depends on the company, that the person, the farmer that has contracted with, how they want it handled.
I guess is the bottom line. Each individual farmer had to do his own or her own research and how to do from point A to point Z.
That's a good point. It is that they did. We've had some meetings, and there will be more meetings. And I recommend anyone, and we have. I've had several come in the office just in the last week or two. Wanting to grow it next year. And the main thing is education, because this is, and I've referred to it to a lot of producers, this is kind of like the Old West, and the snake oil salesman and all that. Be careful of all. Do work, do background, looking at these companies and making sure, because it's quite a bit of money to put in an acre of this. A lot of them that used some clones, they call it, where they take clippings off of a female plant and root that, and those can be $3 to $5 a piece, maybe some more than that. And so you get 1,500 plants in an acre. That's several dollars, and so. Be careful. I told everyone that I came in contact, find the market for this. I think it can, as you can see, it can grow in Macon County great. But as far as finding a place to sell that stuff, here in another month or so is the key of that. And so we've had a lot to do that, and we have several companies that they've contracted with, and telling the farmer they will buy X amount and this type thing. So more of that'll be coming up.
As far as the crop itself is concerned, you're probably not as familiar with it as you are tobacco, but how does it look overall from what you can tell? Here
in Macon County, it looks really good. I've looked at several fields. I know some counties are dealing with some leaf spot on that, septorial leaf spot, and we have, and there's really nothing licensed labeled for it. This is a human consumed product, through the oil. And so as far as any herbicides, that's why there are a lot of weeds, and farmers are having a lot of labor intensive. It's a really labor intensive crop, and no herbicides, no insecticides, that type thing on that. So it's almost kind of like organic, you could say. And so it's really labor intensive, keeping it clean and watching for those disease possibilities. But by and large, Macon County, we've had a pretty clean crop, just dealing with a lot of weeds and that control of that.
Of course, tobacco has always been the main cash crop in this county. How does the tobacco crop stack up against the hemp crop this year? I mean, are there still more tobacco farmers as a general rule?
Yeah, there's still at the, but as I said, and it's unfortunate because tobacco has made Macon County. I mean, and it's in king as far as agriculture. It's still presence is known. We have a lot of growers that are growing over, in other counties and out of the state. We still have some large growers, somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 acres. So, in our heyday of 6,000 acres, we're just back in early, 2014. We were one of the largest in the world growing. So it's right now we have more acreage, but in a lot of things, again, there's a lot of misconception, a lot of misinformation on the news, about making $50,000 an acre on this hemp. Well, probably not. But there's going to be producers that make money, and there's going to be some that unfortunately lose money on that. But it's going to be hard to replace tobacco, but we're hoping that this as an alternative crop and maybe the crop in the future can really help offset some of that loss.
What would be your best advice to someone considering possibly starting a hemp crop maybe next year?
Exactly. They can contact the Extension office. We're open Monday through Friday. And we'd be glad to point them in some directions. The Tennessee Department of Agriculture, I mentioned earlier, TDA, has a really great website. Of course, they have to get a license to grow this, and that's their first step. Right now, they're licensed. Had a short window of license, but now it's year-round license they can get from TDA to grow this. Right now they're saying like 50,000 acres in Tennessee again, and so they're getting 10 applications a day, we were told yesterday. So they have to do that, check into that. Also, their soil, it has to meet certain requirements. You got an expensive crop out there, so soil test, find out what is in that soil, and then they can amend it this fall, and then next year they could be ready to go with it.
Keith Allen with the UT Extension office here in Lafayette says the growing season for hemp is around 120 days. It's a plant you could start seeing more of here in Macon County in the near future. Reporting from Lafayette, Barry Hyatt, NCTV.